If you are joining us for the first time, hello and welcome. If you are a returning supporter and friend, welcome back. Today we'll be taking a look at US presidents to compare and contrast. Let's get straight into it. First, let's examine the age of presidents when elected. The youngest, Mr. Theodore Roosevelt, who in September 1901 was only 42 years of age. The oldest, President Joe Biden, was 78 years old during his inauguration in January 2021. The average age is 55.94 years, roughly 24 days before the average president's 56th birthday. The closest result to this was Mr. Grover Cleveland, the 22nd president, when he took the White House in March 1885. Quick note, Article 2 of the US Constitution states that the president must be 35 years of age. Next, let us look at presidents at age of death. The youngest was tragically President John F. Kennedy, who in November 1963 he was gunned down at only 46 years of age. He was also the second youngest elected president. Kennedy is part of an unenviable group of 8 presidents who died whilst in office. 4 died of natural causes: William Henry Harrison, Zachary Taylor, Warren G. Harding, and Franklin D. Roosevelt. Another 4 were assassinated: Abraham Lincoln, James A. Garfield, William McKinley, and John F. Kennedy. The president with the longest life will be President James Earl Carter Jr. Jimmy Carter, who, as of this recording, is 96 years of age. The average lifespan of all presidents is 72.2 years. The closest result to this is President William Howard Taft, who died 72 years, 6 months in 1930. Next, let's look at presidential height. The tallest president, President Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president, stood at 6 foot 4 inches tall. The shortest, Mr. James Madison, stood at 5 foot 4 inches tall. In 1809, the average man stood at 5 foot 8 inches tall. The average for all presidents was 180.2 centimeters. The closest matches to this are Grover Cleveland and Woodrow Wilson, both of whom were 5'11". Quick fun fact about height: Harry S. Truman was the 33rd president, and he was also the 33rd in terms of height. This is true as of President Biden's inauguration, but wasn't true during Truman's presidency in the 1940s and 1950s. Next, we weigh in on weight. No, but quite seriously, the heaviest president by a significant margin was Mr. William H. Taft at 340 pounds. The lightest, President James Madison at 100 pounds during 1809, makes a second appearance. The average weight of all presidents is 182.33 pounds. The closest candidates to this were Abraham Lincoln and Barack Obama, both of whom came in just under the average at the same weight, 180 pounds. Next, we look at military service. Of the 45 presidents, 32 had some military experience. This includes 18 of the first 21. Of those 32, 25 saw combat. This includes 7 presidents in the Civil War, 5 in the War of 1812, 1 in World War I, and 7 in World War II. 12 presidents didn't serve. This includes 4 of the most recent 5, a period from 1993 to 2021, and another 5 of the 12 presided over an entire period from 1913 to 1945, essentially the start of World War I to the end of World War II. It seems the appeal of military experience in presidential candidates goes in waves. Next, we shall look at Farlow-Son combinations. There are 2 such presidential pairings. Firstly, the Adams. John Adams, the 2nd president, and his son John Quincy Adams, the 6th president, neither of whom had military experience. However, both presided over periods where the majority of presidents did have military experience. Remember 18 of the first 21 presidents having military experience? The 2 Adams presidents were 2 of the 3 without for that period. Then 160 years later, the Bushes. Firstly, George Herbert Walker Bush, the 41st president, and his son George Walker Bush, the 43rd, both of whom had military experience during a period where less militarized presidents were typically elected. Next, we shall examine the gender of the average US president. This is something we can quantify in terms of the typical president. So there are 45 males and 0 female. Wait, is that right? Should we check the records again? There must be one. No? Alright, 45 males divided by 45 unique individuals. The average US president is male. Now let us turn our attention to race. Like gender, we can quantify the average president in terms of their race. We have 45 white presidents and 1 African American president. Hence, the average president has a 97.8% likelihood of being white. Next, let us talk about wealth. When it comes to wealth, it gets a little murky. The wealthiest president is President Trump by a significant margin. Even at conservative estimates of Trump's wealth, he has more than all other 44 presidents combined. We should point out the figures surrounding President Trump's wealth is a hotly contested issue, and I'm sure you could find a video on it should you desire. All of these figures are adjusted for inflation to 2016 dollars US, naturally. The least wealthy of all presidents was Mr. Harry S. Truman, who at his death in 1972 had less than $1 million to his name. The average of all presidents' wealth is $88 million. The closest result to this is Mr. Herbert Hoover, who by his death in 1964 had amassed a fortune of $82 million, which puts him 8th on the overall list of the 45. If we look at the average without Trump, the wealth of all other presidents comes down to $45.5 million, roughly half the average from before. The closest result to this becomes George W. Bush with $40 million, who is 13th on the list. Notice a wealth disparity even amongst presidents, who as a group would be far wealthier on average than the Americans who voted for them. Now to a horrifying and relevant topic of US history. These 4 men, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Monroe, and Andrew Jackson. All 4 of these men owned slaves. All 4 of these men were in the top 6 wealthiest. All 4 of these men were within the first 7 presidents. Of the first 18 presidents, 12 of them owned slaves. So, in conclusion, what do you think presidents have in common? Does it make sense to judge them by modern standards? Were they simply a function of their society and their time? Are these questions too easy or too narrow? Will our views change in years to come? Leave your thoughts in the comments. This has been Unboxing Economics. Please like and subscribe. And most importantly, remember, history is more than just a bunch of stuff that happened. Thank you for watching.